Click the links for Odysee and BitChute. Quick video on the Comicsgate Myers stuff. First of all, let me just say, Heather Antos, yes, she's a cum dumpster. That isn't an insult. She's a straight woman, I assume. Straight women really, really love sex. Now, the implication is that she sucked her way into something. Nobody believes the beautiful Heather Antos had sex to get a $36,000 a year position in comics. That is insane. It's a dumb joke. Nobody took it seriously. Antos is good looking. She's probably married to some guy or gal. I really, really doubt she is single. She's not offended by being called a whatever any more than Nasser was when Layman called him the same thing, essentially. Most people just don't care. Antos attacked Rich, so Rich clapped back. It's not a big deal. Heather doesn't care about this stuff. She's probably too busy enjoying her daily jog and banging her husband. Heather doesn't care about Comicsgate. Why would she? She pretends to care because her followers are mostly young people who expect her to care. It matters to them because they're young and they think everything matters. And when they get older, they'll learn that this is all just deck chairs. And people in her industry also expect her to care, who kind of pressure her to care. Look at it this way. If Heather said she didn't have a problem with Comicsgate and she wished them well and she hoped we could all have a good relationship, people would lose their freaking minds. She knows that, so she has to pretend to care. She doesn't give two shits about Comicsgate. Mags doesn't care either because Mags might care because Mags is really, really bored. Mags sits on Twitter all day long. And actually, honestly, to be honest, Mags is mostly pissing off left-wing people with their spicy takes. So credit to Zim for that. From the bottom of my heart, I wish Joe Glass, Mags, Heather, most of the rest of them, except for Mark Waid, he's actually a lizard person, I wish them a happy life with a lot of laughs. Adults can disagree without actually getting emotional about things. I feel like a lot of people haven't had enough personal tragedy or health scares to really appreciate how important it is to not sweat the small stuff, and most of it turns out to be very small stuff. Go have a cancer scare and you will realize how silly all of this stuff is. I have never talked to Myers, and I don't want to. And I don't mean that in a negative. I have nothing to say to him other than he is a good dialogue writer, and I look forward to his continuing success with the series of Jawbreakers and Iron Sights. If I had a big channel and was in a position to help Comicsgate guys, I wouldn't even bother helping Myers because he doesn't need the help. I talk to the smaller guys like Tim Lim, Douglas Ernst, Michael Bancroft, or Mike Miller. But in all seriousness, Myers is very good at dialogue and kind of reminds me of Elmore Leonard a little bit. So I'm not simping for Myers, and I have heard that he has late campaigns. Okay, fine. Tell Myers to kiss your ass and stop supporting him. Problem solved. Move on with your life. Don't support someone who disrespects you. I just don't care if campaigns are late within reason. But, FYI, Tim Lim and Doug Ernst have a record of being on time, and they're very cool guys who write good stories. Late campaigns are fine, but disrespect is not. Never accept that. Vote with your feet or your wallet. Simply stop supporting him if that is your wish. But also keep in mind, people are human. Everybody gets PMS or low blood sugar. We can all be cranky bitches. Go watch some of Ethan if you want to see an example. And to be fair to Myers, the SJWs did threaten to hurt his children. Michelle Perez seems like a very dangerous person with violent fantasies and nothing to live for and nothing to lose. The SJWs did threaten Myers' life, his wives, and his kids many times, and defamed him for 3 years, and nobody in the industry told him to knock it off or said, hey, yeah, we don't talk about people's children here. That's insane. Not a one of them ever stood up and said it's time to dial back the violence. So I look at the totality of the circumstances and I cut him some slack because I'm an adult and I have better things to worry about. I mean, in literally almost anything is more important than worrying about Comicsgate. Actually, Myers is one of the few guys in Comicsgate I don't think I have had any contact with, and that is fine with me. I just want the comic book. I don't need somebody's personal history. And the thing is, there are conversations that you can have for public consumption, and there's stuff for private. So I couldn't ask him anything in public that Angleton or Tristan wouldn't do a better job with. I would rather, I would, I would prefer to listen to someone else do a good interview than me do a bad interview. And now that I think about it, even Ethan has had 3 actual death threats that I am aware of and have the screen captures of. This was a while ago on Twitter. My point is, selling something via social media is not like selling via a retail store. Even I have been threatened, and I am the sweetest person. Social media gives the world access to you, and the world is insane. Twitter is like the Tenderloin, but with more spelling errors. Comicsgate laughs at stupid comics and sells their own comics very successfully. The SJWs lose their mind at Comicsgate, but they don't want anyone pointing out that SJW comics suck. They suck so hard. Now here's the difference between Ironsights, Lone Star, Cyberfrog. They were all solid, well-done books. If an SJW wants to go through and laugh at it, go for it. You can always find some clunky dialogue to pick apart, but it doesn't hurt my feelings if you laugh at things that I enjoyed. I just won't watch videos that roast Comicsgate books. I'd rather read them for myself, because of the ones I've read, I enjoyed a very high percentage of them. I know Ironsights is a very good comic because I have it sitting on a stack of comics literally 5 feet away from me. I read it. I personally know it to be a good story. If someone hates Cyberfrog, okay, fine, no problem. Sell your copy on eBay and don't buy any future comics from Ethan. Problem solved. I have Cyberfrogs right here. It's an excellent first effort at a crowdfunded book. I know it's not his first book, obviously. It's his first crowdfunded book. He does a very good job at that. It's solid. It looks like a comic is supposed to. It's not perfect, but if you literally hate your copy, just sell it on eBay. Nobody is forcing SJWs to buy comics. Myers doesn't threaten people who don't watch his shows. He's not going to track you down with a 30-06 and settle your hash if you don't like one of his videos. He wants you to watch and support him, but he's not going to show up on your doorstep with an artillery piece if you don't. You're not going to go answer the door and he's got like a Civil War cannon there with a lit fuse and goes, "Hey, heard you didn't like one of my videos. Yeah, this is for you," and then lights the fuse. It would be funny. It'd be like Jay and Silent Bob, where they go door to door and just kick ass. They beat up kids because the kids are douchebags. The SJWs were insane with rage over a guy who bought comics and said that they were stupid. They were mad because these comics are legitimately very stupid. They're mad because it hits too close to home. They don't buy Comicsgate stuff and roast it. They attack Myers personally instead of countering his argument. If you like Riri, good for you, but not enough people did. Or Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel, because they say they like them, but they don't actually buy them, because in case you haven't noticed, they get canceled all the time. People don't buy them. They're used to keep the IP alive. The goal isn't good stories. If it was, they wouldn't employ talentless diversity hires. Let me be clear here. They are hiring purse puppies sans talent for optical virtue signaling. They are without merit and cannot actually sell product. They are only hired because they can check imaginary boxes. These PC baby Marvel comics are written by idiots who are misandrist and anti-white, and they don't sell. We make fun of them because they're bad stories written by San Francisco coke-sniffing kitty diddlers. If you're anti-white, you deserve to be made fun of because you're a bad person. Let me ask Mr. Borderline Personality Disorder Knockoff Vouch a question. Why didn't Ms. Marvel or Ironheart sell? Let me use this just as an example to let you know why some of this stuff is struggling to find traction. The SJWs don't buy these crappy comics, but they get outraged if you make videos talking about how bad they are. Why? Because they're terrified to laugh at BLT POCs, but why? Because BuzzFeed told me it's istophobic. Well, BuzzFeed lied to you. So did your college professor. Those are control terms to scare you away from free thought. I wouldn't be surprised if those terms were invented by filthy globalists. But they're marginalized and oppressed. Cool, so are we. Let's team up and destroy the puppet masters together. Here's the thing with this Vaush knockoff. He is so far removed from the source of any issue that he's not worth even listening to. And it's not exactly his fault that he is the way he is. I think he has some organic impairment. He isn't just an SJW. I think he's a special case where he is best left alone. He said some things in his video that made me come to the conclusion that he's just not seeing the world as other people do. He doesn't seem to be making connections to how people perceive him that most other people would make. He also comes across as angry and frustrated because he's just not interpreting the world as other people do. He seems like a guy who would be better with cars or computers, inanimate things, not people, things that he can control. Like people just would frustrate him. A lot of these guys end up as SJWs, so it turns out to be a collection of angry, impotent people who think they know better than other people on how they should live. They might be computer geniuses, but humans frustrate them. Look at what he is white knighting for. He doesn't buy SJW comics because they suck. He doesn't buy Comicsgate comics because he thinks they're written by Chad Nazis. He has no emotional investment in the argument, but it is a windmill to tilt against. He doesn't have literally anything in his life better to do than white knight for Heather Antos, Mags Visaggio. That is what his life consists of. Someone like that is actually very dangerous. He's angry at the world. He's simping for people who also probably think he's weird and want nothing to do with him. He has a diminished capacity to understand the world. He has violent fantasies. He possesses dangerous items. He has nothing going for him and nothing to live for. Those are all pinging on the radar for, FBI warning signs. He's at the social media level of a guy talking about events within groups that he has no part of the group. So it doesn't make sense why he cares. He doesn't talk about the Comicsgate books. He isn't interested in them. He talks about the people who are involved in something that he doesn't care about. So it doesn't make sense why he cares about Ethan or Doomcock or the Quartering or all these other people. He cares because he sees people having a good time and he has nothing better to do than try to ruin that good time. He also has trouble articulating himself and forming rational arguments, so he devolves to ad hominems and straw man arguments, and he does a bait and switch technique. It's a straw man, but he does it quite often with two topics and just switches from both of them. It's like you brought up two topics and you went to a third that's not connected, and you think people don't notice? Then he gets frustrated with anyone who points out inconsistencies, and he deletes their comments. It's like, dude, you just want to stand in an echo chamber. You don't really have a whole lot of faith in your argument if you have to delete comments. He talks about, this is where he gets into dangerous stuff, because he's talking about sexual prowess and Myers' sexual inadequacies. He seems obsessed with Myers' penis. When guys talk like that, they're projecting their inadequacies onto the world. We don't care if Myers is good in bed or not. We just want to be entertained and have a laugh, not in bed. Nobody in Comicsgate is worth getting worked up over. Nobody. He does videos on the Quartering and Doomcock. Those guys are infotainment. That's what YouTube is. It's infotainment. It's the WWE. I don't even listen to those guys anymore. And I don't hate them, I just don't listen to them. Why would you waste your time on people that you seem to actually hate? Because reactionary videos get clicks, and his other content is probably really boring, and because for him, he feels impotent and frustrated that he can't control people. If he was 100% just grifting for clicks, it would be a motive that we could understand. Dopamine and financial a little bit, but he acts generally angry. He uses personal sexual projection insults, and he has violent fantasies. Those add up to be very serious red flags. He mentions penis size, sexual inadequacies, being a bitch, and cucking several times. He mentions cucking. Then he adds violence on top of that. He is angry and projecting his own impotent inadequacies onto another person. that all adds up to a very, very dangerous person. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Don't contact this guy. He is best left alone. Leave him in his own echo chamber and just keep moving on. Keep making great comics and moving on with our lives.